All right, I think we're live. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Happy Friday. I hope all of you are doing well and staying safe and warm. I am super excited to have Hannah join us. I'd like to introduce and welcome Hannah, owner of Movement Massage and Yoga. She's a yoga instructor and a massage therapist. So, Hannah, I would love for you to share a little bit about your journey, how yoga, was how yoga came to your life, or how you approached yoga personally, within your own life.
Thank you so much for having me on here. I feel like that yoga found me. It was just such a random, thing of how it found me. I was 18 when I was going through sort of this dilemma in terms of, um, not sure. I was a little unsure of, do I want to follow a conventional path or non-conventional path as I was transitioning into college.
Hmm.
And, you know, as that was happening, I was working out at a gym with my girlfriend, and we came across this open yoga class where people were allowed to come in and leave as they please. So, the curiosity kind of took over when I saw people barefoot on a yoga mat doing these stretches. I'm just like, that's strange, but I'm also very curious.
Hmm.
So my girlfriend and I did it. I was completely lost. I was not flexible. I had zero experience. Would go into a forward fold and couldn't even reach my toes. I had no idea what a downward facing dog was. And I think I actually asked the instructor, I said, did you say downward facing dog? Like, is it a dog? Like, I just was very lost. On the same note, which is pretty ironic, after the class, it wasn't so much of what happened during the class, it was what I felt like after that really stood out to me and really, um, you know, had me more engaged into the practice or had me more curious in the practice, which was this feeling of connection.
Yeah.
And it was so much more than just the stretch. And I immediately felt that, almost felt that shift right after the first class, after me not even really knowing what it was, but I felt a shift. I felt something happening. I felt that connection. I felt more centered. And I've always been pretty active and healthy prior to yoga, and that was just a different feeling to me.
Hmm.
And the more I continue to practice, this was probably 12 years ago. I've been practicing for 12 years, just I guess it's just as a student, not even being a teacher,
Yeah.
just doing that as just a normal practice of mine. I have noticed just how much more connected it brings me and how it's always a journey. It doesn't matter like if you are a beginner, if you're advanced, um, and all that. So curiosity drove me, the passion drove me into the teacher training, and I have been a yoga instructor for 5 years now.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. So, yoga, the word yoga, um, has so many elements to it. And, there's depth to it, there's deep meaning behind it. So, for you personally, what does the word yoga mean as you journeyed over the past 10 to 15 years with yoga?
So to me, I feel it means connection.
Mhm.
It's treated to me, it has always treated me as a whole. It wasn't just a physical practice, even though it is shown as a physical practice, and
Mhm.
even though that is what we, do,
Mhm.
um, you know, I, I definitely, I consider it as a connection that it is a mind, body, spirit, all of it. I felt like yoga has always treated me as a whole, and it kind of brings me back to even when I first took my very first class, I had no idea what yoga was. But as I found out what the real term yoga meant, which is to yoke, which is union, coming together, connection, I felt like validated what I had felt, on the very first yoga class I took. So
Right.
it, I definitely feel like it treats people as a whole, and that it is, again, beyond the stretch, and it's just means connection. We all
Right.
need that.
Yes, especially right now.
Definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So talk a little bit about how yoga has helped you personally in your own life, and what are some of the benefits that somebody that's new to yoga, or even somebody that's experienced with yoga, can expect to feel.
For me personally, I feel that it helps me pretty much with everything. It brings me back to, again, my breath,
Mhm,
mindfulness, brings me back to maybe some triggers that I have, maybe some, uh, challenges that I might be facing that I can get into. I could get through that with ease or deal with it a little bit easier,
mhm,
having that yoga or even the meditation that you teach as a tool
mhm,
in my life. And um, I actually grew up with anxiety and depression. Um, it, I did not know how to manage it very well. It was pretty crippling up until I was into my teens. And I did come across the meditation pretty young, and I know that did help a
mhm.
lot. And then as I got into the yoga as well, that was another big piece in terms of learning how to manage like the stress, or if I was feeling, depressed or whatever. So that has been pretty much my medicine or my therapy for me
Right.
personally. But, for other people, I would say if people were curious, if they are beginners, if they have nowhere to begin, if they do have this false, notion or this misconception of, yoga is just not for me because I'm not thin, I'm not white, or anything like this. Well, yoga originated in India, and yoga actually was not a physical practice in the very beginning. So something to think about, and so yoga is absolutely meant for everybody. And there's different types of yoga, but when it comes to beginner yoga, if you are new, if you do feel maybe intimidated by the practice, it's so easy to come across like Facebook or anywhere on social media where you see people going in headstands, and it does look very intimidating. Or people think, oh, shoot, well, I want to do it,
Right.
And I think people kind of miss the idea of really what yoga is when they see that. So when you take a beginner's class, you wouldn't be doing headstand by any means. You wouldn't be doing anything advanced. It would just, for me and what I teach, I do offer building blocks for a lot of beginners.
Mhm,
Most of my students who come into my classes are beginners. A lot of these people have never taken a yoga class before. And
mhm,
I think a really big piece to that is if you do come into a studio, or if you do join a Zoom class, which I offer, which we could talk a little bit more later on, but before, when you talk to the instructor before a class, I think it's really important to communicate about your journey, your physical journey too.
mhm,
Um, you know, do I, hey, I have a shoulder problem. Hey, I had low back surgery like a couple months ago, or I'm dealing with a knee injury. So those are really important things to bring up to an instructor if you decide to come to a class,
mhm.
because we can also tailor and modify and show you other, again, building blocks and tools for you to get into a pose safely without injuring yourself. I think that's a really key component to the yoga is people think, oh, I could, go into a headstand or I could go and take a YouTube channel and do this vinyasa class, even though I've never done yoga before. And then I end up injuring my back. So I have done that when I was a beginner, when I was new to yoga. So I did find personally that going to a yoga studio or being with the teacher on Zoom is more helpful because they can actually guide you and actually watch you go into a pose and prevent the injury from that possibly happen. So
Right, right. Yeah, no, I think it's really important to have that guidance initially when you're first starting with a practice, because there are unknowns. And yeah, it's easy to read a book or watch a video, but just like with meditation, having someone guide you, having someone talk to you, or talk through the process with you, I think is really helpful for the beginner, and also for someone that maybe has lost touch with yoga or another practice and wants to come back to it.
I
That's
know.
important.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I feel that, kind of going back to the meditation and what we've done in our groups, I think we've mentioned something about accountability yesterday and
Mm-hmm.
how it's not even not only holding yourself accountable, but, um, maybe having an instructor or,
Mm-hmm.
you know, to kind of hold you accountable and to kind of remind you of, the practice as well, I think is another really, really key thing, especially for beginners, because it's really easy for a beginner to take one class and say, oh, well, I'm not really benefiting from it, which I don't really know. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know anybody. I think it's a rare occasion that someone takes you a class, they're like, oh, whatever.
Right, right.
They do feel something, but I feel like they can engage more and feel more of the benefits if they stay consistent into the practice, whether it is with yoga, meditation, and holding themselves accountable as well
Mm-hmm.
in practice.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Before we talk about, what are some good tips or good suggestions for somebody that's new to yoga, I'd like to just share a little personal story, you know, about something that happened with me. About, 5 or 6 years ago, I broke my leg on black ice, and I was laid up in bed for quite a while. And I was like, what can I do to stay somewhat mobile, stay somewhat active. And I decided to go back to yoga and just do some really basic, simple stretches in bed, just to help stretch my back, my legs, my arms. And I can't begin to tell you, like those few months that, I was kind of laid up in bed, the yoga really helped me to feel more connected with my body, feel like I'm doing something for my body. And, once I got better and was walking, it really kind of that yoga, practice really took me a long way in terms of feeling like I had more flexibility, even though I was, tied up in bed with a broken leg. So it was, extremely beneficial for me. And I can't even stress, how, uh, important yoga is to not just the, physical body, but also mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Like it's a combination of all the different bodies that we have and really helping us to align and get connected and get centered. So, Hannah, tell us a little bit about, for someone that's new to yoga, when is a good time to do it? Where should they do it? We've talked a little bit about the how and also about the why. So just share a couple of tips with us.
Yeah, I think a lot of people feel like, oh, I'm supposed to take time out of my schedule to do a yoga class or things like that, which is important. I think that, is a part of the practice, but I think people forget that you can still do these things while you're sitting, while you're, driving in the middle of a crazy busy day, taking
Mhm.
that even just a minute to pause and maybe even come back to your breath or to do just these simple stretches to get you through the day before you go maybe into your practice. But I think the more people practice, I think they kind of realize, at least for myself, that it is a lifestyle of mine. I cannot go without yoga or some sort of physical or even some sort of practice into what I do. So a really very simple tip that I would recommend would be sitting in a chair. Most of us are sitting in a chair now. Maybe they weren't, but most people sit at a desk, or most of the time you're driving. Most of the time, when that's happening, you are also experiencing rounded shoulders here, your
Mhm.
low backs, being elongated and tightened up. This is all being shortened in front of you, your psoas. All of these really important muscles really need to open up,
Right.
especially in the chest area,
Mhm.
because we have to breathe. In order to open this up, you breathe
Right.
about
Pulling
inch.
it back. Hmm.
And we've taught, and I know you really stress about breath and
Hmm.
how important that is. And I also bring that up as an important component into the practice and yoga. But a really big one is just opening up the chest, really just giving some mobility into your back during the day before maybe you go into your practice. Um,
Hmm.
And a normal practice would be, if you are a beginner, maybe try 30 minutes, especially if you are dealing with an injury, see how you feel. Again, being guided by an instructor, or do an hour. But in the meantime, I can show you a little exercise that you guys can do while you are sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
So a really good one for me, which again, you've brought up so many times, which I love, is about breath. Breath is key to everything you do. When you're stressed out, how's your breath? It's probably shortened, right? You're not breathing right. But when you're relaxed, you're able to breathe a little bit easier. So even just the mindfulness and just focusing on the breath completely shifts everything in it.
Oh, yeah.
What you do, right? Yeah. So a really big one is just sitting comfortably, whether you're on a chair or on the floor. Just take a moment to close your eyes. And just place one hand on the heart and the other on the belly. And just begin to notice your breath here. Engaging the mind and body connection. Just take one deep inhale through the nose. And exhale through the nose. Begin to feel the belly fall and rise with the breath. Take another deep inhale. And exhale. And just gently release, place both hands on the thighs, eyes are nice and open. So that's another really important, again, piece. Even if you don't even have time to stretch, because I know life can be really crazy, just placing both hands, and feeling the breath, especially in the belly, shifts and changes a lot. A little can do a lot. So a really nice seated stretch is to bring the right hand behind, and then you're just going to bring the left arm, the left hand to the right knee. We're just going to go in for a gentle twist. So take a nice deep inhale as you gently lengthen through the back. And then exhale, just gently twist to the right. And you're just going to gaze past that right shoulder. Just begin to drop the shoulders here. Take a nice deep inhale through the nose. And exhale. Maybe you twist a little bit more. Take another deep inhale, lengthen. And exhale. One last deep inhale. And exhale. Slowly come back to center. And then when you're ready, you're going to take the right hand to the left knee. You're going to take the right hand to the left knee, left hand behind. Take a nice deep inhale as you lengthen through the spine. And exhale, twist to the left. Past that left shoulder. Maybe begin to soften the shoulders here, soften your jaw. Take a nice deep inhale. And exhale. Another deep inhale. And exhale. One last deep inhale. And exhale. Slowly come back to center. So another simple, how long did that take? 45 seconds, a minute?
Yeah.
So just a very simple tool, something really easy to do. A nice one too for when you're sitting, a nice shoulder opener is to bring the arms in front of you. And then what you do is you interlace the fingers, and then what you do is you just bring them up. So here you're just going to notice again the opening of the shoulders, maybe the upper traps. I almost feel in the neck because a lot of the times if we are sitting at a desk, our necks can be a little tight too. So again, just kind of really engaging the breath. 3 breaths I like to do. I feel like that's pretty good for beginners. And then what you do is you're going to flop that. So you're going to make sure that the palms are facing up as you bring the arms up. So again, we're going a little bit deeper into the stretch, and a little bit more here into the shoulders. And following the breath, gently bringing the arms down. So that's a really nice one to do if you are, feeling really stressed out during the day, at work, whatever's going on. And brings a little bit of ease, kind of allows you to come back to your breath and to center yourself just a little bit more.
So what are some asanas that you would recommend maybe on the floor that are simple and are really good stretches, especially at the end of a long day or maybe first thing in the morning when you want to stretch your body out before you get busy with your day or sit in front of a computer all day long, kind of hunched over?
Yeah. So what I normally teach is restorative class. And so what I'm about to show you is very common to see in restorative yoga, which again, there's zero stimulation going on, pretty much relaxing. The goal is to literally relax the nervous system in the body, which is actually a natural thing we are supposed to have. And, you know, that's a natural part of us. But unfortunately, with the way the world is, we are kind of going into that fight or flight a lot of the time. We're stressed out, multitasking, kind of going into that marathon. But here we're going to grab onto either two pillows or a yoga bolster. So I actually have a yoga bolster here. So you're going to take this and you're going to make sure this lines up with your spine. And then what you're going to do is you're going to maybe start off with knees bent, feet on the floor, hands come onto the earth, and you're just going to slowly roll your back onto the bolster. Maybe you want to start off with the knees bent, depending on how your low back feels, if you need some extra support. But the goal is to eventually extend the legs out. You need a pillow under the neck too for some support. What you're going to do is just going to allow and feel the shoulders just drop here, just allowing gravity to let the shoulders fall.
Yeah, that seems like a really, really good stretch for the chest and the shoulders to really open up and, you know, stretch out the areas that we tend to kind of scrunch over and squeeze.
Absolutely. This is actually, like you mentioned, this is literally opening up the chest. So again, when we drive, getting, you know, doing our desk work, we are just constantly, these muscles are getting shortened and our breath is shortening. So we want to elongate, we really want to open this up and allow that. So, and another really big actual psychological, emotional component to this is actually opening up the heart chakra or just opening up yourself to compassion and vulnerability as well. And, you know, I think we are kind of like hitting this shift where we are opening up to that. But I do feel like this does really allow that to maybe happen with a little bit more openness here. So whether it is psychological or physically, but they all, as you know, are very, very
interrelated.
So what I like to do to get out of this, people are like, oh, how do I get out of this pose? It can be a little challenging maybe if you start this off at first, but again, it gets easier as you continue to practice. So you're just gonna hold on to the legs, slowly come up, and then you're just gonna hug the legs here. You're just really relaxing the, you're opening up the lower back here after that lower back bend. And then that's a really common one that I do in my classes. You can even do this on your bed. This is really nice too. It doesn't have to be on the floor, especially if people have issues getting off of the floor. So another really common one that I absolutely love and that I pretty much do every day, not just with bolster, but I actually use a wall. So what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to swing my legs up the wall. It sounds a little wild when you hear it, but once you see it, it's not as crazy. So you're going to bring yourself to the wall. You're going to make sure your bottom and you're going to make sure that your seat is meeting the floor and the wall. You're just going to slowly roll over onto your back. Make sure that your hands are in contact with the wall to use some leverage here. And all you're going to do is you're just going to sweep the legs up the wall.
Wow.
Yep. So it might be a little, again, it might feel a little strange at first, especially if you are new to bringing the legs up the wall, but it gets easier as you continue to practice. So for here, pretty much, again, this is really just engaging this relaxation, just really calming the nervous system. And you're just bringing the arms out to your sides, again, just allowing the shoulders to fall. Maybe you need a pillow or anything under the neck, again, for some support. But this is pretty much what I like to do in the restorative class,
Mhm.
it's just so relaxing. I mean, I personally just don't even want to get out of this pose right now. It's just so good. Um, but I'm going to go ahead and bend the knees. This is another great way to get out of this pose. Because a lot of people ask this when I,
Mhm.
don't know what it is. So
Right.
just roll over on your side and you're up. So those are some really simple tips, things to do when you are, when you feel like you might be crunching on time, or you don't have time for full practice. But I
Yeah.
absolutely encourage a full practice if you
Yeah.
can, again, to kind of develop those health benefits and things like that. So
Great. So before we go into talking about your classes, Hannah, I'd love to open it up for questions. If folks are watching this right now, and if you have a quick question you want me to ask, please drop it right below the video. In the meantime, Hannah, I'd love for you to share the classes that you offer. And I know you have class coming this Sunday. I did include in the description for this video a link to the invite for the event. But I'd love for you to share more about that with the group.
yeah, so this is the class I was actually offering prior to the pandemic, but I've just always kept it because
Mhm.
it's just such a great class and people seem to just really love it, including myself. So it's called a restorative yoga. So again, as I mentioned before, as I was doing some of these poses, that will be included in the classes. And, you know, you're being supported by props. You're just relaxing for the full hour. Um,
Mhm.
and it's every Sunday at 6:15 Eastern time,
Mhm.
6:15 in the evening Eastern time. And yeah, it's another, again, it's just a great class, especially the timing of the day. Again, on Sunday, it's at the end of the week.
Mhm.
It's just a great way to just end the week, let
Mhm.
go of any stressors you have, and just kind of transition into something new as you go into the beginning of the week. So, yeah, it's just been a really great class. I've been teaching that for a couple of years now. And yeah, so again, everything is in the link. Everything you need to know as far as like props, what to expect, is in the description of the event page. So yeah.
Perfect. I don't see any questions right now, but whoever's watching now or as a replay, feel free to drop questions below the video and either Hannah or I will respond to them. So before we close out, Hannah, I'd love for you to just share a couple of thoughts about anything you'd like to, and then we'll close out the call.
Yeah, I just really recommend anybody who might be going through some challenging times. I don't know anybody who isn't right now going through a pandemic. But it is a great time to take space away and to take time to pause and again connect with yourself. Because I am a true believer in, you really can't take care of other people if you can't take care of yourself. So it's very important to fill up your cup and to do that kind of self-care, whether it is, spending maybe a couple minutes on the chair stretching during work, or on a work break, or, doing a full session on mat. But, and another thing too, a lot of people feel like one way or maybe one class is specifically for them. There's different types of yoga, right? So, there's like vinyasa yoga, there's ashtanga, there's hatha, there's so many different styles and forms of yoga, which is
Mhm.
wonderful because one style isn't just meant for everybody.
Right.
So it's really important to kind of find what works for you.
Mhm.
The restorative, again, is just really relaxing, great for beginners who want to have a foundation or just want to have a starting point and just to kind of see what it's like. But and a lot of people do ask, well, what makes your class so special? I think it's a really common question that I get.
Yeah.
And I'm going to really be honest, I don't think there's really anything special about my class. It's really the practice that's being offered into that. It's just the practice that the student actually experiences,
Mhm.
because their experience might be different from another student's experience. I am just facilitating and just, um, being serving in that way.
Right.
So there is really nothing special about me. It's just something that, I can offer that experience to another person of how maybe I felt and what drove me into the practice itself. So, but yeah, I appreciate you having me on here again, and happy birthday, especially on your birthday. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
Actually, yesterday, but I believe in celebrating the week, so I'm still celebrating. But
Yes,
thank you so much.
birthday week. Happy belated birthday. You're
Thank
welcome.
you. Thank you. Well, thanks, Hannah, for joining us. I am excited that we had a chance to finally talk. I know we've been talking about doing this for a while. Um, so thank you for that. I also want to just let the community know that I am planning to bring more guests on to talk about different topics. So if there's a specific topic that interests you and you'd like to hear about it or more about it, drop a quick note to me, let me know, and I would love to open that up, have that come, have different people come in and talk about that with the community. So I want to wish everybody a happy Friday again. I hope everybody has a great weekend. And again, stay safe, stay warm, and we'll connect soon. Take care. Bye.
Thanks again.